K-12 can look at IP addresses. Well, for those of you that understand IP addresses, that doesn't tell you anything. We're not going to be getting warrants to go look at where IP addresses come in, and it gets even far more complicated than that, because, and I don't want to go into the craziness of this whole IP thing, but there aren't enough IP numbers for the amount of electronics on the internet. So they get funneled and assigned different IP addresses. So IP addresses, nobody will be able to take an IP address and go, oh, that's Phil McTighe. You can do that if you're the FBI and you have a warrant, you have probable cause, and you go get a judge sign a warrant. Other than that, nobody will know what anonymous is. And that anonymous comment goes to K-12 servers, and that's where it resides. We'll see the comments collected internally. That it all is dependent on who we assign them to, who we open those up to. And that's all done on the back end when we start working with K-12. Will the public see the comments? No. They will not. Reports, we're going to show some examples of reports. It's all kinds of stuff. It's whatever you want to know. Next. All right, perfect. I know there was a lot of questions asked, and does anybody, let me just stop right there. So, good point. The feedback tool. We have a feedback tool right now on the district website. I don't know, in reality, how many people even know about it. I don't know how often it gets used. I don't know the full capabilities of it. And we probably should get some of the clarification from Barb on that. But let me stop there. I think that's a pretty quick generalization of what Let's Talk is. And let's start with some questions and concerns, because I know there's a bunch of them. Or do we want to have Barb talk right away? I'm open to whatever. Why don't we, let's get some questions and concerns out and then go from there.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank Phil, because Phil has been the contact guy. He has been the one that has been in constant contact with Jesse, as with Renee as well. I guess my concern is mostly around the spending unbudgeted money at this point. I think that as a board, we have a responsibility to the taxpayers. And I think as a board, we have to do our due diligence. And part of that due diligence, I feel like the board has failed. Not Phil has failed, but the board has failed. This started out as an idea, I think it was Carla's idea that was brought up in public originally, but I think we had talked about it as a group in the fall. And I think where we fell down a little bit was once we had this company's name, nobody really kind of took the ball and ran to research if there's other companies that offer similar products. And, you know, I don't feel like, and I'm part of that. I'm taking responsibility for myself as a board member, that I think that we should do a little more research. I'd be willing to reach out to, I did some of my own searches on the internet and found some other companies that they call things differently. Whether it's something that's comparable to Let's Talk, I don't know enough about it yet. But I just feel like, you know, I think we owe it to the public to not spend this money at this point in time. I think we can include it in the budget. The taxpayers can vote on it. And when if it's approved in the budget, we can go ahead and do it then. I just feel like on principle, for us to spend money this way is just not appropriate. I think to do our due diligence, I think we need to reach out and just do some more research, look for some more companies, ask some more questions, and go from there. That's where my biggest issue. I have a couple others. I mean, part of it is with me, with the goal. I still kind of feel like I'm a little confused on what the goal of that is, what we're really trying to accomplish. But I think the due diligence and doing the research is the biggest thing in terms of spending that money, the taxpayers' money, when it wasn't in the budget to begin with. And when we're where we are in the school year, just waiting a little bit is not a big deal. I am looking forward to hear Barb too, in terms of comparing a little bit about what our feedback tool can and can't do with regards to comparing it to Let's Talk. Anybody else have anything?
I think I would come at this from a little different perspective. I don't like spending the money when it's not been budgeted, but at the same time, it seems to me that the benefits to the district for this amount of expenditure, I see a great deal of potential in this tool. Probably around this table, we have 8 different perceptions of what our needs are in the district. We probably can't even agree upon how we should exchange emails, but I do think that this tool would give us a very valuable tool. We're facing Common Core. We know that our teachers are stressed because of that. This summer, we're going to be facing a facilities project in which there's going to be a great deal of work done this summer. These are all going to be hot button items. No matter how quickly our administration responds to the items, you can't respond as quickly as what this tool. So I think at this point, I would be in favor of going ahead and expending the money.
As you know, I kind of brought this to the forefront many months ago, and I did do my a little bit more research. This company was brought to our attention through our BOCE's superintendent. It wasn't something I picked out of the thin air. It was a referral to us by BOCE's superintendent, Mr. Bishoping. He felt that it was a reputable company. They'd been already BOCE's approved, and that's where we started. Because I'm also in education, I did a little research, and I also found Alan Berry's company in Fairport, and I did reach out to them and found out a little bit information. I brought it back to Phil, and their way of doing things is more of a survey, typical survey, and more of a face-to-face. And in talking over with myself and Phil, this is the company that they felt they wanted to investigate further. So I did look into other companies that offer these services, but and with regard to Common Core, every teacher, every employee, whether you are the bus driver to the custodian to the teacher to the superintendent to a director, everybody is stressed with Common Core and APPR. And and that is not just at Wayne Central, that is at every district. I don't believe that that is the total reason for some of the issues that people have raised to various board members at various times. My position on this is to spend the money, because the last thing I want is for valued, experienced, wonderful staff members to leave Wayne Central because they don't feel they're being heard. Because to spend $3,000 is totally cost effective to losing staff members with experience and training and lots of potential because they don't feel they're being valued or heard. So I feel it's a worthwhile endeavor to spend this money at this time. It's a little bit of money. We can see how it goes. We can budget some money for next year, and we don't have to spend it. If we find that this is a total failure and it's not used, we can put that money somewhere else. But I feel it's a valuable tool at this time. Thank you.
Back when we had the presentation from Jesse about this program, I asked him if there was any other companies doing this, and he didn't think there was anybody that had exactly like that they had. I mean, the capabilities of the software to, disseminate all the information that they're receiving in an efficient manner. And I think it may start out to be a little bit more work for administration maybe, but in the end, it might make it more efficient to handle all the comments that we get and group things. And it's an avenue for, I mean, whatever Barb's going to tell us about our capabilities now, they haven't been being used, I don't think. The amount of money is, I don't think the surveyors is something we do now, so it drops it down to the 68% of only the $6,000 for the start. So I would encourage to do it now. Over the past 4 or 5 years, we've ended up with about a $5 million fund balance, and I think on 12/31/13, our fund balance was at 5.2 million at that point. So I think there will be money at the end of the year for this, and I think this is something we should use for our community, for our kids to get started, because whatever information we can get now, we can start making a good plan for this summer, and then we could also see what it's working like, and maybe we can always put the money in the budget for the next year for the total program, and then if it's not working, it's something we won't have to spend if we decide we didn't come into that contract yet. So I would support doing it now. One last thing, this company's had clients since 2006, and they've had a 90% renewal rate. So I think it's a proven company.
That's a good point. By the way, and I don't know, it was a while ago when Jesse had provided the 3 references for this company, and all 3 of them had extremely positive things to say. Now, granted, the representative provided those the referrals, so certainly hope they were positive. The one that I just recently forwarded was I actually used the Chat with Charles tool. I don't remember where that district was.
Fort Bend, Indiana.
All right, so it was Indiana. I actually asked on this Chat with Charles tool, which is in essence Let's Talk, I asked him, what do you think of it? How do you like it? How is it used? What have been the benefits? And I have the email, which, by the way, I'd be happy to share with anybody if you stick around until about midnight when this night ends. But it was extremely positive feedback. They did backflips over the capability. I want to add in that when I spoke to Jesse, he had some interesting, we've had a lot of conversations. One of the things I liked that he mentioned was, obviously there's an ease of use here, right? Maybe it's even a little progressive. I said to him hours ago, the last time I talked to him on the phone, and I said, Jesse, I got to tell you, I really feel like, in a way, you're repackaging a lot that we have already. Other than the tagging tool, and other than the ability to run reports, it feels like you're repackaging something that's currently available. And he kind of laughed and said, Phil, you're actually right. It's just a little bit more progressive. It's a little bit more of an ease of use. Now, that doesn't mean that an email isn't ease of use, but what the advantage is that it allows us to manage and track and correlate all of the information coming in. So when someone at 7 and 11 comes up to us and says, I think your public comments should still be done blank, 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 that's awesome feedback. Go to Let's Talk.